Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We are looking at a wildly ambitious project called Build Something. And its goal? It's trying to preserve the absolute most valuable asset we have, right before it is permanently lost. I'm talking about true, uncontaminated human judgment. We are literally trying to record history before the algorithms completely take over and do it for us. Let's start with a hypothetical. Should an AI company be allowed to recreate the voice of a deceased musician and then release brand new songs without that person's prior consent? I want you to form your own judgment on that right now. Yes or no? Just lock it in your head. Okay, that right there, that very act of independent, totally uninfluenced decision-making, that is exactly what is vanishing from our world at terrifying speed. Which brings us to Section 1, the problem with inference, and why clicks are definitely not beliefs. Look, we basically live in a digital ecosystem where massive companies infer what we think based entirely on our behavioral exhaust. Things like how long we hover over a post or what we click. That's inference. It's essentially an algorithm guessing your thoughts, and it's usually built by someone who has a financial stake in whatever conclusion they reach. But testimony? That is completely different. Testimony is a public, attributable declaration that you explicitly chose to make. And right now, we are drowning in inference, but we are absolutely starved for actual testimony. The crucial takeaway here is that reconstruction is not testimony. Imagine researchers looking back at us from the year 2036. They might be able to perfectly reconstruct our daily behavior from 2026 using trillions of scattered data points, but without a continuous, solid public record of what we explicitly stated we believed, they can't actually know our minds. They can't just time travel and ask yesterday.
Moving on to Section 2, reclaiming human testimony, and the actual instrument we need to pull this off.
So, if algorithms are basically just guessing our thoughts, how do we fix it? Well, the Build Something project introduces a very specific type of measurement called true. Now, to be clear, it doesn't claim to magically read your mind, because obviously that's impossible. Instead, it measures something strictly verifiable. It records exactly what you were willing to state out loud, publicly, under completely known conditions at a specific moment in history. It essentially locks in the undeniable historical fact that you made a declaration.
And here is a fundamental rule of this instrument that I find really fascinating. Absence is data. Out of 10,000 eligible people asked, say 2,000 just didn't answer. They stayed silent. Now, the system doesn't try to guess the thoughts of that silent group. No, it explicitly records their silence as a core part of the finding. That strict discipline is the exact difference between a genuine scientific measurement and just, propaganda.
All right, Section 3, how the record works, covering the rules of this instrument.
For us to actually trust an instrument that measures human belief, it absolutely has to follow uncompromising rules, and the most vital one is right at the top of the list. Your first judgment must be completely blind to the crowd, meaning you cannot see the running consensus, you can't see what your friends answered until you commit your own answer first. This totally prevents the platform from creating that weird social pressure that influences your choice. It also demands that they publish the denominators, meaning we see exactly how many people were asked, and it preserves the exact frozen wording of the original question forever.
The daily mechanism is surprisingly simple. It just asks users for 3 small commitments of judgment every single day: true, funny, and beautiful. By simply answering if a statement is true, or picking what you genuinely find funny or beautiful from a blind lineup of human and machine creations, you're helping build this record. Because when you stack up these tiny daily judgments, they suddenly become this monumental piece of infrastructure, simply because they stop disappearing into the void. Which brings us to this incredible realization: nobody can copy yesterday. This record is an asset that only compounds in one direction, and that's forward. Think about it. A record started in 2031 can never, ever contain authentic, real-time declarations from 2026. The real thing just cannot be manufactured after the fact. Literally every single day we don't record this, that historical data is permanently destroyed. Section 4, the judgment corpus, and what legibility actually unlocks.
Once you actually build a trustworthy record of what humans think, the real-world applications are just staggering. It maps out over 200 potential new meta-industries. We're talking about wild frontiers like belief futures. Imagine financial contracts based on where a population's judgment will be in 5 years, letting companies actually hedge against cultural risk. Or human forensic panels, where people with a proven, highly calibrated track record are hired to evaluate disputed deepfakes. Or even machine constitutional comparison, which would track how AI values are drifting compared to actual, measured human populations. We are talking about a completely new layer of civilizational infrastructure here.
But, and this is a big but, for any of this to actually work, the underlying structure has to be bulletproof. The entity maintaining the standard, the auditor, must be a completely separate legal entity. It cannot sell the measurement services it audits. We all know what happens when rating agencies are paid by the very people they are supposed to be rating, right? It fails. Plus, any paid judgment work can never touch the main canonical historical series. That ensures money never corrupts the core observation.
All of this leads us to one massive hypothesis. Human judgment might actually be the most valuable thing on Earth. Why? Well, AI is currently making the creation of content practically free and totally abundant. When literally anyone can generate 1,000 articles or songs or legal briefs in a few seconds, the purely human act of discernment, actually deciding what is good, what is true, or what is worth keeping, that becomes incredibly scarce. And as we know, what is scarce becomes incredibly valuable.
Section 5. The Uncontaminated Reserve and the Ticking Clock.
Guys, we are genuinely running out of time to capture authentic human thought before it's permanently altered by machines. Consider the steel industry. After 1945, atmospheric nuclear testing contaminated all newly manufactured steel with trace amounts of radiation. Because of that, if you want to build highly sensitive medical or scientific instruments today, you literally have to salvage pre-1945 steel from sunken ships. The exact same thing is happening to human judgment right now. It is getting contaminated by ambient machine influence all around us. We desperately need an uncontaminated reserve of blind human decisions recorded right now, before AI ubiquitously alters our entire culture. We literally need to stockpile pre-AI human judgment.
And of course, because this strategic reserve will be so incredibly valuable, it's going to be relentlessly attacked. The institution managing it has to aggressively detect manipulation. We're talking about synthetic bot participants trying to skew the data, or coordinated internet mobs trying to poison a specific group's results. The institution basically has to earn its resistance to manipulation every single day. It can't just assume it's safe.
But let's bring it back to you. On a personal level, what this ultimately builds for you is a cognitive passport. It is a profile by you, not about you. Think of it as a portable, verifiable identity based on what you explicitly chose over years of blind judgments. It's not a creepy surveillance algorithm inferring things to sell you ads. It's your actual, demonstrated discernment. It's a way to totally reclaim your personal agency.
I want to leave you with this. It's the very first canonical question of the record, and it goes like this. If a machine's judgment were more accurate than yours, should it decide what happens to you? That is a profoundly heavy question. It asks you to seriously consider your own human agency in a world that is quickly being reconstructed for you. So, what is your judgment? Because right now, the most important thing you can possibly do is put yourself on the record.